Alright, today we are talking about traditional publishing versus self-publishing. Which did I choose and why did I choose that path? So before I talk about my choices regarding this, I'm going to go over some stuff about traditional publishing and self-publishing, just as a bit of an overview here, especially for those who are not quite as familiar or maybe don't have as much information on this. It might be a good idea. When I say traditional publishing or tradpub, I'm referring to people who go through a literary agent and get their manuscript submitted to be accepted to be published at a publishing house. I'm talking about Penguin Random House, HarperCollins, Macmillan, all that jazz. The big five, as it were. There are some independent or smaller publishing houses as well, but that's generally what people are referring to by tradpub, is getting published by one of the major publishing houses that has existed for a long time. And then when I say self-publishing or self-pub, I'm referring to someone who wants to go through the time, money, and effort to publish their book on their own terms, to do everything themselves. Although, to be fair, some people who go self-pub not everyone goes that route with the idea of producing a quality piece of work. Let's be real here. But I'll touch on that a bit more as we go. So one of the big things between self-publishing and traditional publishing is money. Alright, so if you're going tradpub, you don't have to fork over any money because it's the publisher who has to spend money to take a risk on you to produce a quality book that you wrote in order to potentially make a good sale on it, so they can get paid and in turn you can get paid. With self-publishing, it's not a free thing. If you want to produce a quality piece of work, you have to fork out that money yourself to do it. Now, there are many ways to go cheaper with it and still produce a decent piece of work. But if you really want to have a very, very good quality book, you're gonna have to fork over some money. There is no way around that. The other thing that people use as a determining factor whether you go tradpub or self-pub is the royalties that you get. So for traditional publishing, because the publisher has to get paid before you're not going to get very high royalties on a book. And you do get a lump sum up front in increments that the publisher gives you based on what they think your book is worth. But you don't start getting any more money until you earn that out, until the publisher earns their money back, and then you get maybe 10 to 12% royalty per book sale of a single book, if you're lucky. Whereas with self-pub, you fork over all the money yourself up front, which can be very costly, but the royalties per sale of a copy of a book are higher. So if your book does really well, you stand a good chance of making that money back and then gaining a profit off of it, potentially faster. So there's ups and downs in terms of the monetary aspect of everything. Now let's talk gatekeeping. This is one of the reasons why a lot of people go self-pub over tradpub, and most people don't make a wise decision in that regard, and that is gatekeeping. So a lot of people get irritated by the fact that when it comes to tradpub, normally you have to get a literary agent. Very rare is it that a publisher will accept unsolicited manuscripts. And then if an agent takes you on, then they have to shop your manuscript around to publishers. And in some cases, they'll also work on helping to edit it with you to make it a better product, which is a good thing, by the way. And then if a publisher picks it up, then they assign you an editor from that publishing house to work with you on your manuscript to also help improve the quality of it. And then they're the ones that fit the bill for formatting. They're the ones that fit the bill for the cover art, for some of the marketing, not all of it. They're the ones that are forking out the money to make sure you go through the ringer. And that's part of the reason why you don't get a lot of money back from the sale, right? And some people have it in their mind that gatekeeping is a bad thing. And I don't agree with that. There's a reason why the majority of books that are published through traditional publishing are decent quality products, because the authors were willing to do some changes with their books, were willing to work with the editors and publishers to ensure that the quality worked. Because sometimes you can make a decision with your book and it may not necessarily be the best decision, and you don't always know that until you bounce ideas back and forth or suggestions back and forth with an editor or whatever, which you can still do if you self-pub and hire your own professional freelance editor, which you should be doing, by the way. But there are people who go self-pub and completely ignore that stuff and think, oh, I'm just gonna publish my first draft and it'll be just fine. No, don't. You are setting yourself up for failure if you do that. And then another thing that people choose one over the other for has got to do with, I think, in my opinion, people who are a little more business minded. All right. There are people who go traditional publishing because they really don't want to have to deal with the business aspect of publishing. They want to let the publisher do that for them, which is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Not everyone's cut out to deal with the business aspect of anything, for that matter. And anyone who goes self-publishing to go it legit, to actually produce a quality product, they are essentially self-employed. They have to treat it like a business in order to succeed. And if you don't, it's not guaranteed that you'll fail, but there's a higher chance of it. So, in terms of what I picked, what my choices were, essentially it gets down to what I was just talking about in terms of having control over everything, being very business-minded. For me, I love the idea of having control over every aspect. All right? And I'm not, unlike some people, I'm not using that to avoid gatekeeping. Okay, because I'm implementing my own gatekeeping here, which I'll talk about in a moment. I just really like the idea of being able to choose how I want things done, when to get them done, and what professionals I want to hire to do it. I like that idea. And that's something that is completely out of my hands if I go traditional publishing. So stuff like how I want to market it, because I have to deal with every single aspect of marketing as a self-published author. Whereas if you go TradPub, they deal with some of it, not all of it. TradPub authors still have to do some marketing. But the fact that I can choose whether I want to do free and or paid marketing and how I want to do it is actually quite intriguing. I like that aspect of it. I like the idea that I could potentially earn more if my book sells well. That's pretty attractive of a prospect as well. And like I was just saying, I love the idea of being able to choose what professionals for the gatekeeping process. I can choose my own cover artist, which I have already picked out, by the way, even though the publishing of the book is still a couple years off-ish. I can choose my own professional freelance editor to field the book through as well, which I have someone picked out for that already as well. And hopefully they'll work out so I don't have to pick someone else. And then I could choose whether or not I wanted to pay for a professional to format the book or whether I could learn how to format it myself. And personally, I really love learning about that sort of thing, so I'm going to learn how to format the book myself. I'm going to be real here, completely honest. But that doesn't mean I'm just gonna cheaply format it in Word and not do anything special with it. Traditional publishing is the easy route, technically, and yet at the same time it's not, because of everything involved in it. Each of the routes has their own ups and downs. There's no right or wrong way to go about it, except how you want to go about it. So now that I've gone through that and I've informed you in the very basic terms of traditional publishing and self-publishing and which path I chose, I'm curious as to what you guys think about any of this. Are you in the process of writing a book yourself? I'm pretty sure a couple of people who are following me are. what is your process? Have you bothered to do research about it? Have you made a decision whether you're going trad pub or self pub? And what are your reasons for it? I'm really curious about what your journey with this is so far. And with that, I would like to thank you for watching this video today, and I will talk to you later.